Welp, here we go, folks. We've got some Vancouver Canucks stuff to talk about. Quite a lot of it, actually, from a potential draft target that we're only talking about because it's funny, to some updates on the guys that are already in the Canucks organization, as well as individuals who have left the organization lately. So, let's start out with the more, how do we want to start this video? We will do the boring stuff. Talking about guys that are no longer here in the Canucks organization. Of course, you know that we are talking about Rick Tocchet, because earlier this morning on Donnie and Dolly, there was a 5-minute clip posted about Tocchet's future in the National Hockey League, and where exactly it is Tocchet's NHL future could lie. Dollywall says, I am under the impression that Tocchet will listen to all teams, including Seattle, Anaheim, possibly LA if they make a change, not just the East Coast teams. Now, that does vary from what it is that Jim Rutherford said Rick Tocchet's intentions were. Oh, he wants to go out east. He wants to be back home with his family, etc., etc. But learning that the West Coast could still be a possibility for Rick does kind of throw a monkey wrench into that idea. Let's head over onto Canucks News Summaries. Big shout out over to Canucks News Summaries on Twitter, because they went out there and transcribed a lot of what it is that was talked about on the show. This is what Donnie and Dolly's presentation brings up. Rick Tocchet is returning to TNT on Friday and Saturday. It's not full-time, though, and his goal is to coach in the National Hockey League. He is interviewed officially with the Seattle Kraken. Dolly also said here that people were caught off guard when Rutherford said that Tocchet would only coach back in the East. Dolly is under the impression that Tocchet will coach Western teams too, Seattle, Anaheim, and LA, if those teams end up making a change. There's a lot of interest in Tocchet, and he's open to coaching anywhere. There's also a lot on reasons as to why he left, lack of knowledge on Quinn Hughes' future, probably being up there too. The Flyers have not reached out to Tocchet yet. Keep an eye on the Bruins. Obviously, the Flyers will contact Toc. So, Seattle, Boston, Philadelphia, LA even. I mean, there are a bunch of teams that could go out there and start vying for Rick and his services. We just have to wait and see if it is a team that will be in the East Coast or not. But honestly, it's kind of boring talking about Rick Tocchet stuff, considering that he's not here anymore and there is a lot of, let's say, disagreement with how his reputation should be viewed in Vancouver. On the one hand, he is one of the most winning coaches the Canucks have had percentage-wise, but on the other hand, his overall body of work, when you combine the 2.5 Canucks seasons that he had as well as all of the Arizona years, it wasn't great. For what it's worth, I guess we should go out there and talk about the Vancouver Canucks side of things, though. Canucks News Summaries also went out there and posted this. It's a summary of Sportsnet 650's latest crossover with Dodd, Drance, Donnie, and Dolly. Not hearing any big names in terms of the Canucks head coach search. A lot of AHL guys. Pascal Vincent could be in there, Luke Richardson. I mean, there are a whole bunch of people that could rotate around. I don't necessarily know if Adam Foote is the best option here, just because you want to keep Quinn Hughes happy, but it also was talked about here. The biggest concern with hiring Foote is that you can't just sign him to make Hughes comfortable. You need a coach for the entire team, not just the defense. Anyways, let's move on to one of the other topics here in this commentary. Also, courtesy of Canucks News Summaries on Twitter, this is what was talked about on Sekeres and Price yesterday, about Vancouver Canucks top prospect Tom Willander. Cam Robinson was brought on the show to talk about the idea of a Willander trade, among other prospect-related endeavors. And Canucks News Summaries went out there and posted the summary on the Tom Willander talk. Someone told Cam that it may not all be doom and gloom on the Willander front. Priority number one for the Vancouver Canucks is the coaching search, and it would not shock Cam if Willander was signed by next week. So, there is an opportunity, or maybe a likelihood, if you wanted to use that word, that Tom Willander does indeed sign with the Vancouver Canucks, and he does find himself in the organization officially. Now, I don't think it would be facetious to explain why him signing now would have probably been better than him signing before the end of the season and burning a year off that ELC. It's just with all the drama attached to it, the fact that Willander was the only top NCAA guy outside of Isaac Howard to not get signed, and he wanted to sign, and it was expressed by his representation that he wanted to sign, and he didn't, and the Canucks were reportedly not willing to give him bonus money and everything. The fact that the Canucks have had so many bad stories this year just made all this Willander talk feel all the more worse. If there is a positive story to come out of this, if Tom Willander does sign next week, and he's a Vancouver Canuck for the next 3 years, potentially a main roster Canuck on the next season's worth of play, if he does all that, then okay, great, that's some momentum that you need. If you don't have Quinn Hughes sticking around long-term guaranteed, then you need to at least get Willander down there. Now, speaking about defensemen, let's talk about one more extra piece of info that's not even technically Canucks related, but is something that we do need to talk about, because it was posted by Greg the Great on the R Canucks subreddit, saying that the Vancouver Canucks have the chance to do the funny and draft a third left-handed defenseman, Pettersson. Yeah, that's right. There's another one. Liam Pettersson is unrelated to the other three Petterssons that we have seen, and he's an 18-year-old, 6'2", 170-pound left-handed defenseman who is currently ranked 28th for European skaters by NHL Central Scouting. Liam Pettersson does have SHL game experience. He played 5 games with the Vequa Lakers in the regular SHL. He had 21 points in 39 games with the Junior 20 team, and he was at double a point a game for the Vequa Lakers Junior 18 team in the playoffs. 11 points in 6 games for the J18. That's a really good amount, but of course it's the J18s. He's one of the older guys in the pool there. Still though, solid production in junior, cup of coffee with the regular SHL team. That's not bad in the slightest. And Liam Pettersson is all of a sudden a guy that a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans will have their eyes on heading into the next few months. There are a few scouting reports, game-by-game scouting reports posted on Elite Prospects Premium about Liam Pettersson. I'm not going to screenshot those because this is, premium content for EP, but a report by Lassi Alanen from the beginning of March talks about how Liam Pettersson does have some pretty good strengths. Clean transition play, effective puck breakouts through cross-lane fields, stretch passes. He's a calm guy who is able to delay the game in order to make the best opportunity. He can skate it out if he needs to. So he's a really nice puck facilitator, although there are questions on his defensive game. He doesn't really control space that well off the rush defensively, and he doesn't take advantage of his size either. He looks to be an average skater, or at least maybe even a little bit higher. So this is a guy whom you're probably going to draft more so because of his offensive transition game. Alanen concludes at the bottom of the scouting report that a C grade seems warranted. So, a little bit of a different type of Pettersson compared to Marcus and Elias, but Liam Pettersson is a guy whom, if you wanted to talk about his offensive potential being his number one catch, I'm not saying this guy is going to be a top pairing defenseman at all, but if you wanted to go Hronek and Willander as your offensive guys, assume Quinn Hughes leaves. If you're getting a good chunk of production out of Hronek and Willander, as well as Liam Pettersson, it opens the door for Elias Pettersson, Marcus Pettersson, and Mancini to be the defensive guys. You just pair 1-to-1-to-1. You could go Marcus Pettersson, Filip Hronek, Elias Pettersson, Tom Willander, and then Liam Pettersson, Mancini. Pettersson, and then the Pettersson up front on center. And then you trade for Emilio Pettersson, and then you get a Pettersson power play. And that sounds amazing. 3 defensemen on 1 power play doesn't sound like a good idea. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section either way. Not just about Liam Pettersson, but about all the other stuff here too. Rick Tocchet, the Canucks coaching search, Tom Willander, and more. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.